Welcome to this explainer. When you first look at Minecraft, it looks incredibly simple, right? I mean, it's a world made entirely of low-resolution, blocky textures. But if you really pay attention, you realize that visual simplicity is actually a trick. The game's true hidden depth, the thing that really draws you in and keeps you playing, lies in its masterful audio design. Literally every single thing in this game is built on a foundation of sound. So that brings us to a pretty massive question. What is Minecraft's secret weapon? A lot of people might say the infinite procedural generation, or maybe the crafting system. But the real answer? It's the invisible psychological world of sound that secretly controls absolutely everything you do, how you feel, and ultimately, how you survive. Okay, let's dive into this with Layer 1, the physical foundation. This is the most basic, tangible layer of the game's audio design, and it focuses purely on physical movement and the blocks themselves. I want you to imagine it, or just listen closely in your head for a second to the stark contrast in footsteps. When your character walks on grass, the sound is really soft, muffled, and incredibly natural. But the second you step onto stone, the audio instantly shifts to a hard, sharp, clicking sound. Sand feels rough, snow feels muted, and these sounds aren't just there to make the game feel realistic. They're actually there to give your brain constant, subconscious information. Imagine you're sprinting through a dark cave, and suddenly you hear the crunch of gravel under your feet instead of solid stone. That audio instantly informs your brain that the terrain has changed. You know exactly what you're standing on without ever having to actually look down. And this exact same rule applies to how you interact with the world, too. Think about the dull, heavy thud of chopping a block of wood, or the quiet rustle of breaking wool. Now contrast that with the instant, sharp, almost startling crack of shattering glass. This feedback is entirely intentional. Your brain immediately starts categorizing materials based purely on their sound signature. Which brilliantly illustrates a really crucial point for this layer. Minecraft communicates incredibly complex physical properties and feedback entirely without text. You don't need a pop-up window telling you a block is solid, brittle, or soft. The game's audio simply replaces the text, giving your brain the instant intuitive feedback it craves. Moving right along, we have Layer 2, the living world. Here, the game uses environmental sounds and mob audio not just for immersion, but to actively ensure your survival. The environment in Minecraft is just incredibly vocal. Think about the soft, continuous patter of rain on the surface, punctuated by these sudden, super loud claps of thunder. Or, deep underground, you've got the aggressive, heavy bubbling of lava, the constant crackling of fire, or the smooth, rushing sound of flowing water. Now, these sounds absolutely give vibrant life to the world around you, but more importantly, they are constantly feeding you critical warning information. Let's look at lava specifically for a second. In Minecraft, lava basically acts as an invisible early warning system. If you're mining deep down in some pitch-black cave and you hear that aggressive bubbling, but you can't see anything, you immediately know danger is nearby. That single audio cue can literally save your life, not to mention hours of lost progress. Then, of course, we have the creatures that inhabit this world. And notice the massive contrast here. Passive mobs, like cows, sheep, and chickens, make calm, repetitive noises. They make the environment feel safe and alive. But hostile mobs, their sounds are literal warning signals. If you hear the visceral hiss of a spider or that terrifying, distorted scream of an enderman, your brain instantly, and I mean automatically, switches right into alert mode. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what happens when a monster completely breaks these audio rules. Enter the creeper. It is almost perfectly silent. It doesn't groan, it doesn't rattle. Its deadly silence, right up until that final infamous hissing sound, is exactly what makes it so uniquely dangerous. Which brings us to Layer 3, feedback and systems. Moving beyond basic survival, this layer explores how audio creates rewarding interface feedback, critical combat cues, and even technical debugging tools. Just think about the UI sounds for a minute. The crisp rustle of opening your inventory. Or, honestly, my personal favorite, that incredibly satisfying high-pitched pop sound when you collect experience orbs. That specific pop is absolutely not an accident. It is meticulously designed to reward your brain. The same goes for the bright, chiming level up sound. It creates this massive sense of progress and achievement, even though it's a completely auditory experience. And this feedback extends perfectly into combat. Hitting an enemy produces a distinct, heavy impact sound. If you score a critical hit, the sound is noticeably sharper. Taking damage yourself triggers a very clear, jarring audio cue. In fast, chaotic combat situations, these sounds provide instant survival information. It means you never actually have to look down at your health bar to know exactly how a fight is going. And here is a wildly overlooked utility that advanced players absolutely swear by: redstone sounds. Redstone is basically Minecraft's electrical engineering system. When activated, the components make distinct clicking sounds. Pistons slam with a heavy mechanical noise. Repeaters tick rhythmically. Players actually use these mechanical audio cues to debug their complex machines. They listen closely to figure out exactly where a signal is breaking down in their builds. It's brilliant. Let's move to and see how this builds into Layer 4, the psychological experience. This is our final, deepest, and definitely most emotional layer of Minecraft sound design. If you've ever spent time deep underground, you've definitely heard them. Cave sounds, strange echoes, distant metallic screeches, or these weird wind-like roars that happen randomly in the dark. We need to define exactly what these are. They are strictly psychological manipulation tools. They exist for the sole purpose of making you uncomfortable. They're designed to make you feel like you are being stalked, creating this incredible tension even when there is absolutely nothing there. To balance out all that tension, we have the game's iconic music. But notice how Minecraft's music operates. It doesn't play constantly like it does in most other games. It appears randomly, kind of out of nowhere. Because it's sparse, when a calm piano track suddenly kicks in during exploration, or an intense ambient tone plays in a dangerous area, it completely and deliberately shifts the atmosphere of the entire game. And finally, we have the rare sounds: finding and playing a music disc, hearing the massive boom of an end portal activating, or the terrifying server-wide shriek of a wither spawning. These aren't just sound effects, guys. They're emotional moments that signal to you that something incredibly important and permanent is happening in your world. So to summarize the core takeaway of this whole explainer, Minecraft isn't just a visual game about placing blocks. It is a deeply, fundamentally audio-driven experience. The soundscape accomplishes three very specific things at all times. First, it tells you exactly where you are. Second, it tells you what is happening right now. And third, it tells you what is about to happen. All of this invisible engineering leads to a really profound thought from our source material. If you play Minecraft without sound, you are missing half the game. It kind of forces us to wonder, doesn't it? How many other digital worlds are secretly controlling our emotions entirely through sound? Next time you log in, just close your eyes for a moment and just listen. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.